Brother Simba. Peace and love.
Peace and love to you, my brother.
All right, all right. I'll do a little in-depth interview with you. Talk to you a little bit. I guess let's start from the very beginning, Simba. Talk to us about your childhood. You know.
Oh, that's heavy. I thought we were going to deal with. That's a whole story. You know, that's 1933.
Okay.
Okay, and of course I'm born in Brooklyn, St. John's Hospital.
Okay.
Brooklyn is being another culture, African culture, because there's many African cultures in America. I think most communities represent cultures because every community feeds itself, and culture basically feeds the community. Whatever exists in that community, educationally, religiously, or physically, it's adapted by the cultures, by the people in that community. But all that is culture. All that is culture, natural culture. Of course, we don't get out our culture until we get educated. Okay, and that's when we start getting further away from our culture. But meanwhile, I appreciate my experience because they had a camaraderie in my culture, that made people have territories. You know, I was raised in Bed-Stuyvesant in Brooklyn, New York, and we had gangs and everybody was approached if it wasn't identified in a particular community, and you know, usually there's a run or a struggle, you know, because you had to prove what gang you were in, because if you were in a certain area, they would imagine you belonged to the gang that was in that area. A lot of things happened in my life, you know, and I want to do a book on it, but I don't think I should really elaborate on that as much as I should elaborate on, you know, my nationalist era.
Okay, well, from there, talk to us about when did you first get into the
in 1958, I came back to Brooklyn and hung out for about a year because I'd been in and out of trouble, in and out of the what they call the correctional institutions in America. But when I got out in 1958, I hung out in Brooklyn for about a year, seeing what was happening. A lot of people that I used to see, I didn't see any longer. And in 1959, a lot of the people that I was looking for, I discovered them politically involved in the Congress of Racial Equality. And being that was most of my associates that I was raised with, I got involved with them, and I went through a traumatic change, okay, from not loving black people to loving black people, not caring for myself to loving myself, okay, and I think that's where I started to really get involved with photography, for one thing, because I started off with a paper, a nightclub paper, a little small, not a paper, a little small booklet, I guess you would call it, that would give information on what was going on in the various clubs and this and that and the other, night kind of reporting magazine. And I kept shooting, and I was excited about that because I had the chance to shoot in some beautiful people. In fact, a lot of the old jazz musicians used to be playing in a lot of the clubs around Brooklyn. I didn't know what was going on then because I was still in the mentality, just getting out of a nigger mentality and getting into a black mentality. So I didn't know all about this information that jazz musicians was also revolutionary, okay, because they all were non-conformists. And anytime you don't want to go along with the status quo, you're a nonconformist and you're a revolutionary, okay? Most artists are, you know, including yourself, I would say, because I've
Thank you.
seen a lot of things that you've done.
I appreciate that.
And anytime you do anything around the black diaspora, it becomes art anyway,
Right, absolutely.
because we are children of the Creator, so that makes us creative. We only lose all that natural creativity when we become educated. Okay, and I don't want to, you know, because people think sometimes that I try to come down on the education as it is. But for African Americans, only people that can educate a people are their people. Okay, their mothers, their fathers, and the culture that they're in. Anyone else that educates a slave child, inheritance of slaves, I mean descendants of slaves in America, they educate us to captivate us so that we can become Americans because it's economically beneficial. And when people think that the system that is have their best interests in heart, that only means they're a sophisticated slave, okay? Because the bottom line is that everybody gets rich off of black people. And I learned these things by becoming a black man. We're the richest people on the face of the earth by God, because on our land we have diamond and gold that everybody fights for. The struggle is for that land. Okay, so most of the organizations that I'm affiliated with now at this particular time, we speak about seizing the land, okay? Because man without land, he's a wanderer. And me being Christ-like, I understand the teaching of Jesus and the scriptures, and they say that we would be cast in the world, okay? In the world we would be cast, and they say nothing about our world or Africa, or in fact the name is not Africa because the Europeans named it Africa. There's a story about that too, but like the Bible says, seek and ye shall find, because nowadays there's so much information out there that if you're really interested, you'll find out a whole lot of things, okay? But the key is that don't find out unless you're ready to make a change, okay? Because then it becomes hypocritical. You afflict yourself because now you know something that's very important to you, but you won't use it, so you only afflict yourself, okay? And it brings on a whole system of mental, spiritual, and physical ignorance, okay? And the ignorance is something that you put on yourself once you don't want to see the truth like it is, okay? Because basically, every black man and every black woman would be free in America if they just saw the truth. That's real. But anyway, I'll get back to what really put me into the kind of respect thing that I get all over the world, and that's photography. Black images primarily, okay? Because even in black images, you're going to find Europeans, because Europeans, I know in my experience, a lot of Europeans have also died for black people, okay? Because the truth, even wild people, the truth can settle them down. In other words, an angry beast, the truth will settle an angry beast down, okay? And a lot of times the angry beasts want to get in line with the truth, you know, for a conscious reason or some education that they might have had, you know what I mean? But all these things that I speak to you when I speak, it came through my experience of shooting my camera in the black diasporas of the world, okay? Because through the camera, I've been able to travel. People send me places, organizations have sent me places that I wouldn't have normally been able to go to, okay? And I feel blessed to that because I know if I was what I was before, then I would be a victim, a heavy exploited victim of the system that I'm in. Okay, because at my age, at this particular time, there's nothing I can come forward with but what I conceive as the truth.
Just out of curiosity, how old were you when you first picked up the camera and started shooting?
About 24, 25. I was out there. I just got out the army, 3 years and
It's good you started at a
6
real young
months.
age.
You know, it's 3 years and 6 months. Wait a minute now. 17, 18, 19, 20. About 22. About 22. I think I got in the movement about 22. I mean, I was running around Brooklyn shooting pictures, but I really didn't get the love, I got the love dealing with the nightclubs. That's because everybody smiles at a photographer. Okay, everybody loves my present because they figure they're getting a picture taken, okay? And at that time, I was taking pictures of people like a jazz musician like Paul Chambers and folk people like Leon Thomas and Gil Scott Heron and the Last Poets, you know, and all those people that were in the movement too, okay? Because all of them in this, Pharoah Sanders, Sonny Rollins, all these people, even Coltrane, because all these people, the music always followed the pulse of the people.
Did you ever have an opportunity to get to know any of these brothers?
Not personally, because most of these brothers were heavy musicians, okay, and they didn't jive around too much unless it were people that were dealing with music. Okay, so it wasn't no hanging out, just like Coltrane. Coltrane never even spoke to people unless you spoke to him because he was very humble. But when he got down, or when he takes a break from playing, or this and that and the other, even when somebody else is taking a solo and he takes a break, you can always see him studying. You can look at him and tell he was studying, you know, what he did, what he could do, because he was in it spiritually. Because most of our music is spiritual. Whether it be jazz, blues, rhythm and blues, whatever, most of it is spiritual because most of our music comes from our heart after we learn the fundamentals of how to play. Okay, we go to our heart. And black people, they're just spiritually the direct descendants. So their spirit is very high. You know, they're very creative when it comes to the arts. Whether it's painting, whether it's music, whatever, when it comes to the art, black people are very, very dynamic.
What was your involvement in like both the civil rights and black power movements? What are some of your experiences?
Well, we used to deal with the first real confrontation that we had was when we dealt with community control in Ocean Hill, Brownsville in Brooklyn, New York. Okay, and we made a lot of heroes out of a lot of white men. Okay. The international president of the Teachers Union, which is Albert Shanker. What was the lawyer's name? Kunstler?
William Kunstler.
William Kunstler. He took on a lot of black cases without getting paid. He got a reputation, and then he started getting big money because I try to tell even black attorneys, you know, you have to do things sometime. You have to take on cases that other people don't want to touch. You have to get a rep, and then when you go to people that have the money that they can't afford to pay, you can charge big prices because you got a rep. And that's how Kunstler became the lawyer he became, because he took on, every time any nationalist got busted, Kunstler took on the case, okay? I mean, I can't name all of the people, but I know a lot of the folks that everybody else here know. He has, you know, been the lawyer of their cases. That was another thing about the 60s. The 60s was a spiritual time, a spiritual movement, because that's why it went internationally. around the globe. And that's how the truth touched people. You want the truth bring out contradictions. That was the 60s was all about, when it comes to Africans in America, it was about, I'm going to be the vanguard, and it doesn't matter if my life is involved, to show the contradictions, because as long as my people can't see the contradictions, they'll continue to stay in the Mara clay, or the Mara clay, whatever they call it, on the bottom of the totem pole. Okay? As rich as we think we are, we're second as far as citizenship is concerned. Indians are first. And the Indians' condition is very bad, but they're still demonstrating. Black people have been educated to the point where they don't even demonstrate any longer. They don't feel like they have a problem. Okay, because individually now we're at a period of me, me, me. So everybody's looking out for their self while the majority are suffering. The majority of African Americans are suffering. You go to armories all over the country, and when you got real urban communities, they got armories. They're full of homeless men, women, and children with crack. Everything is put on that scene to keep them in the condition they're in so that they can keep the economics of America good for the people that created the situation. I don't want to go into any controversy, because if we're thinking, we know who brings everything into our community. Your brothers, they won't even give them an airplane, pilot's license. In fact, a lot of them don't know how to drive a plane, because if you're so ignorant that you're killing your own people, you're not intelligent enough to drive a plane or fly a plane.
I was wondering, we were early before we turned on the camera. You were talking to me about Adam Clayton Powell. Could you talk to us about Adam Clayton Powell and maybe some of the other figures of the civil rights and Black Power movement that you may have had direct or maybe indirect contact with?
Adam Clayton Powell was our suave. Okay, he was our suave, our political suave. And I mean, he was ours. Okay, I don't think any African American or any American have helped pass more legislation than Adam Clayton Powell. And he was a minister, pastor of a church called Abyssinian Baptist Church in Harlem, which was a powerful political base for him, okay, because the church, even up to today, is a powerful political place for black people to go, okay, even today. Just like a lot of our heroes, they usually pass because of disappointment in their own people, because their people turn on them, okay, through the education that they received to make them think that the people that love them are their enemies, okay, because I could call names of people now that are still in office, black men that are still in office, one in particular, and he stands out, but anyway, one in particular, and I know the people that hear this tape that know the story knows that this particular politician was one of the main people that turned on Adam Clayton Powell with Lindsay and everybody, Mayor Lindsay of New York City. It was during that period, and they set him up with a bag woman. Okay, the bag woman was African American also. And when the other politicians, which was African Americans, he didn't care about the European politicians because he was arrogant when it came to that, because of his power with the people that he had. The people loved Adam Clayton Powell at that particular time, okay? And when these black people got in cahoot with the Europeans to bust him, set him up with the bag woman and this and that and the other, I think it was not long after that that he passed. within 6 months or something. I don't know for sure, but I know it was a short time he passed, and I'll always attribute that to his his sorrow, because he never would think all that he was doing was for his people and they would turn on him. Okay, but it always happens to us, and I think that's the most heaviest thing that any of our leaders can face, even with Malcolm X. Okay.
Talk to us about Malcolm X.
Malcolm X. Well, Malcolm X has set up a lot of big things in the Nation of Islam. Okay, the steakhouse, the restaurants, the paper, a lot of big things he was hooking up. Okay, the fish. A lot of big things he was hooking up, okay, making a lot of economic development, okay, because when you can't have economic development unless you're together, okay, and love each other, okay, so he set that whole thing up, and then people start getting more interested in economic development than they were in what the whole situation was about, and greed set in, and the devil came in the house. Okay, and when they start feeding Honorable Elijah Muhammad a lot of negatives about what Malcolm X was doing and everything, so that when the time came when the president, Kennedy, got killed, the time was right, because once the CIA and the government, the FBI in particular, once they found out that they were beginning a split, because the Honorable Elijah Muhammad told everyone to cease as far as any speaking on the Kennedy situation was concerned, because a lot of black people like Kennedy. Okay, a lot of our sophisticated slaves, they like Kennedy. And you don't want to never try to bridge anything with the masses. You know what I mean? Regardless of what organization you're in. So they had made him be quiet for 90 days or something, and anyway, he spoke out, and the brothers start, like I said, filling the Honorable Elijah's head up with a lot of stuff, and the CIA, the FBI got in and polarized the gap. Okay, polarized the gap and had us fighting each other. And I say us because I'm a black man, and I know that if I'm not focused, the devil will get in my head, you know what I mean? The government will get in my head, and they'll have everybody thinking that I'm a killer against the people I love, okay? You know, the government will get in my people's head and having them think that this is about me or that. So that's why I try to stay very close to my people, okay? Of course, I don't have that many people like the Honorable Elijah Muhammad or Malcolm X or Martin Luther King, because that's their job, is organizing people, masses, around their oppression, around their problems, exploitation, expression. It's all sophisticated now. All these brothers, Martin Luther King, he went to Africa. And he never went to Africa before. And he went to Africa and he dealt with, I think he's seen a lot of black presidents, African presidents, and a lot of scholars. And they told him that once you take care of the least of us, everything else would be taken care of, because we have the tendencies to take on everybody's burden. You know, when we take on burdens, okay? But it never works because integration doesn't work. Okay, it's bad enough I have to look at a brother and hope he doesn't become an agent. Okay, but when you're dealing with trying to get black people, any kind of people together, and you're not hung up with the government is coming after you. And your only protection is the people around you. Okay, that's why they always have to set up splits in everything, okay, and have us arguing at each other. A lot of times we take each other off, but the brothers that are more progressive intellectually, They don't get taken off, okay? One of my most intellectual patriots was Malcolm X in my time. Man, when I first came in the world, I guess Marcus Garvey was around. But all of that was manifestation of Marcus Garvey. Okay, he's the one that made everyone wanted to be black nationalists. Now, it's one thing being a Muslim with the Nation of Islam or any other organization, but there's another thing about being even Christian. There's another thing being a black nationalism. You can be a Christian, you can be a Muslim, you can be Hebrew, you can be a Buddhist, you can be anything. But you don't neglect anybody who's black, not because if they're not in your sect, it doesn't mean anything. You're a nationalist, and in your nation, all sects are in it. Everything is in your nation. If you got a black nation or whatever nation you got, everything is in your nation if it has to do with the development of black people.
Were you by any chance involved with the Black Panther Party at all? Or did you work with them?
We used to support and defend the Black Panther Party when they first came to New York. I have a picture here somewhere of the Minister of Information, Elbridge Cleaver, when he first came to New York, and they were trying to promoting the Black Panther Party because everybody was intrigued with the leather jackets and the beret. Okay, all the brothers that was in gangs, they wanted to look like that. So that sort of drew a lot of gangs into the Panthers. And once they got in, they get Panthers, curiosity, they went to meetings because they wanted to see, wow, what these dudes are, because they were about self-defense. Okay, and they knew they had an 8-point program. I think it was an 8-point program, 10-point program they had. And it all had to do with self-determination and the right to bear arms, okay? Especially if a government is not in your best interest, okay? That's all in the Constitution, okay? Just like you have white boys in the woods now preparing to kill niggas and Jews. Ain't nobody going in there and getting them out of them woods, but if black people were organizing in the woods like that, it'd be slaughterhouse up in there, okay? And all the black people would keep going to work. It doesn't affect the educated black people because the man is in their head. And they want to be like the man that oppresses their people, that exploit their people. But you can't get angry with them, you can't point the finger because they don't know. You're only what you know, okay? And whatever we know is because we've been educated to know. Okay, we haven't learned from black people like Dr. Ben and Dr. Clark and those people. We haven't conceived that teaching. There's so many brilliant geniuses, African victims in America, because they've committed themselves to trying to raise the black people. And we know them, everybody know them, okay? But people will go and they will speak for a whole month about the tragedies and the genocide of black people and let white people pay them for lecturing. So they know that we're children because no white man would sit up a whole month and listen to black people rape their mothers and kill their fathers, hang their fathers, and tar and feather, and all the history that we have as a people, and stay in their house and come out smiling, because the people that have done that to them, they better lock their doors. So just that fact, I don't have to be educated. I use mother wit and common sense. Just that fact tells me that something is wrong. We're the richest people on the face of the earth, make everybody rich but us. Everybody comes to what they call the ghetto, which I call the black community.
So what exactly brought you from New York to Buffalo, New York?
I had to chill. Because after the 60s, everybody had to chill somewhere, or else they were going to continue to be in the same rut they got in after the 60s.
When did you first come to Buffalo?
I had some land up in Allegheny County. I met a sister, and we had some land in Allegheny County. I think it was 53 acres. So I used to go to Buffalo and Rochester because that was the only large black communities that I could go to. And being I'm orientated of being a black nationalist, I always felt like I had to be in the black community because that's the only place I could teach without a paper. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, talk to us about the state of Buffalo, New York. Then, at the time that you came here, and
well, Buffalo is like, I call that up south. Okay, it's a little southern mentality. Okay, and anytime you go to any town, and the church and the politicians are the most powerful thing in that town. It's what I would call a laid-back town, because anybody who don't lay back is in trouble. Okay, they shoot them down. Okay, not so much physically, but they'll shoot them down mentally or spiritually, any kind of way. In other words, if you're trying to fight something here, it's like fighting a lion with a toothpick. Okay, if you're focused and you're a spiritual man, you'll get some things done, but you're not going to do anything openly organizing. Okay, because our enemy is us. When we go to a town that's a church town and a political town, a preacher town, a political town, we are our own enemy in those towns, because the politics try to keep our heads so that we can perpetuate the politics that be. And there's two politics, and you never know it in a town like this. There's white politics and there's black politics.
Talk about white politics and black politics.
White politics is about the culture of white people. They create courts, they created every institution here. And everybody that will be willing to get paid off, they allow in that institution. We're willing to pay because education costs money. So once you start paying to an institution, you feel more obligated to that institution than you do to yourself. It's psychologically. I gotta go to school. I gotta go to work. And everybody says that to me. Well, Simba, we have to go to work. We have to go to school. It's not, it doesn't matter. Everybody has to do that. God bless. But who do you go to work for? And who do you go school you go to? You understand what I'm saying? Because black people had independent food co-ops. They had independent schools. They had a lot of things. And the more they got educated, the more these things left. Why? Because they felt inferior instead of superior. The education made them feel inferior instead of superior. They felt superior when they set up their own educational systems, independent schools and independent food co-ops. You know you have to separate, whether you want it or not. Yes, you're in the world. So you go to work and you integrate. But you don't have people in your house that went in your house and pulled you out and took your tongue out your mouth so you can't even speak your language no more and put you in the bottom of a ship. Prior to that, put you in the bottom of a ship in your own doo-doo and brought you, when you got out of the ship, you was in a foreign land with no palm trees unless it was in Florida. I'm saying once you decide that you have been robbed of your everything, your responsibility through God is to try to get it back, or you'll never be you. You'll never be you. What God intended you to be, you will never be. And the preachers are not telling people that, it's because they're dealing with the Antichrist. They ain't telling the truth. Because brothers and sisters are not coming out of churches looking at their clothes and their new cars and this and that and the other without talking about sitting down and talking about congregating about how we get our community back. How do we get crack out of our community? Everybody in our community is vulnerable. We're all in danger. We point the finger, but we're all in danger because there's nobody that has been trained by the white man going to attack no white man. They're going to attack another black man.
You still see it happening today.
It's worse today because it's sophisticated genocide.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You killing yourself, that's genocide. You don't know what you're doing and you killing yourself before he was killing you. Now he educated you, you killing yourself. Check the psych. We've been psyched out. Because for economic reasons, it's better for me to kill my brother than to kill the person that drove me crazy. For the brother that drove me crazy, because it brings him economics when I kill my brother, or if I go to a correctional institution. They're all his institutions, and they're there to make you like him. Because only your father and your mother and your culture can make you like you.
So what is your... many people say, there's a lot of time in the state of Buffalo right now. A lot of, as you know, a lot of people...
Buffalo is good for education.
Okay.
They have good... When you're dealing with education from a Eurocentric perspective, they have good schools. And it's not, you don't have to be distractive unless you just get involved in things yourself. Okay? Because people we talk, there's no movement here. There's no black movement in Buffalo unless it's underground. Okay? Because black movements, they would be demonstrating with those people that demonstrated over there in Niagara Falls last weekend.
What do you think?
Because that more affects black people than it affects anybody. That more affects the oppressed people, the downtrodden people than anybody. And most of them whiteys over there, they young, white, rich children. They're children of rich people. Okay? But they got heart. And they know something is wrong. And when a man is young, color ain't got nothing to do with it. Once they conceive the truth, they want to demonstrate. They want to show the contradiction. The only way government is going to change is by the people, not by the politics. Now the politics do everything and say the people, they shouldn't know about this. They shouldn't. There's going to be revolution here that's going to be so out of sight. Okay, because when people really wake up, because the constant people, the government is by the people, for the people. I'm not talking about black people. I'm talking about the people that conquered this land. Okay? The people that conquered this land do not appreciate what's happening in this land now. Okay? Because everybody is stealing. Whitey is stealing from Whitey. And then you got these here so-called Christian white folks that think America is theirs. Just like Israel is theirs. They go places and if they don't have anybody but indigenous people there, if they don't have them there, they take it or discover it. Or say, because if they're educating you, they can tell you that that God gave them the land. They can tell you anything because it's in their books and you believe it. But nature is God. And no white man belong in Africa talking about what's his. And Israel is northeastern Africa. Okay, but I'm saying as long as he educates black men is going to believe what he says. It's psychological. The man in your head, if you're not focused, if you don't love yourself and your people, okay, you wind up doing what he does to your people and yourself. You wind up perpetuating that. You understand? And that's what, isn't that going on today?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's nothing but sophisticated plantations in town. And most of the brothers and sisters got directorships of the places in the plantations. But all the boss and all the big money come from grants and proposals and this and that and the other from the government. If you don't have no slaves, you're not getting any money. Unless you're a senior citizen, because I got senior citizen programs in the white community. But they don't have all the programs that they got in the black community and the white community. They don't have it. They don't want to be bringing all them black people into the white community.
Why do you think is the reason why so many people, particularly young people, are leaving Buffalo at such an alarming rate today?
Because black men are not taking care of business. Not because of Buffalo, because it's consistent. The mentality of the Caucasian is consistent all over the world. Okay, I'm saying, so wherever black people are that are doing things, black children want to stay. So they don't say it's because I can't get a job, I can't do. If you got PhDs, if you got master's degrees, they can make sure black people stay. If black people have those pieces of paper, because they're more rounded than white people. They got 360 degrees of knowledge they're seeking. They limit themselves by thinking that they're inferior to the person that's teaching them that only has 33 degrees.
Okay. You've often said you've traveled around the world, particularly to the motherland.
The motherland and the land that was promised us, the only promise that we've ever been given.
Talk to us about your travels around.
Okay, and I would guess Africa is like any other place, except for the fact that it's the kingdom of God and it has tropic things there and natural resources. I mean, as far as politically, I'm saying anywhere the Europeans are politically in full strength, they're going to have confusion. So you have to go to Africa picking where you're going. You can't go everywhere in Africa because that'll be like going down in Alabama.
So where did you go in Africa?
I went to Senegal and Gambia.
What were those experiences like?
I went to Israel, Senegal, Gambia, and Ghana.
Talk to us about those experiences.
Those were the most uptight experience I had was in Israel. Okay, but the people that we were there, we were cleared because they tried to kill them one time before and they had a problem. So they cleared them. So when I finally got there, because they wasn't allowing us to go there, okay, they were stopping people at the LaGuardia airport and everything, black people, because they knew they were trying to contact the original Hebrew Israelites in Israel. Okay, has a campsite in Dimona, Israel, and they put them in Dimona, Israel because that's where the reactor was. And Gaddafi said if they messed with them, he was going to blow up the reactor. So they put them there because they didn't want to be. They wanted to get rid of the Hebrew Israelites, but they didn't want to say that they did it because by then they were connected with the black communities in the world. And they had tried to take them off during the Yom Kippur War, but they had to pull their tanks back, and they say they had more of the youth got killed in that war than any other war, and they attributed that to the fact that they were going to attack these people, because in the book it says there would be a people who reclaimed the land that would be a forced people. That's why these brothers, they say they're the original Hebrew Israelites. Okay, and the ones over there now that's claiming to be Israelites are Europeans stealing the land. And that could get a lot of problems if the wrong people hear this tape. Okay, that's a very political issue that I'm talking about. And there are people that'll kill you to keep that shit out of other people's heads. They killing people that are there on the site now, the Palestinians, okay, because they call it Palestine. I call it Zion. Ethiopia, Israel, I call all that Zion, okay. And I might call Israel Israel and Ethiopia because the real Israelites are black anyway. Okay, all black. Okay. And that's like I'm saying, when you talk about deities, you have to deal with the nature of things. So, because God is nature. Jah is nature. Allah is nature. Whatever you want to call them. That's nature, the whole thing. And I'm saying you can look at people and tell where they come from. The only thing that keep us from talking about it is the fear. Because the people we talking about will kill. Don't have no problem killing. For property, for things.
You said something that I've always been really curious about. I'm kind of switching gears here. You said that you were one of the elders of X-Clan.
I used to be one of the elders. That's all the children. Most of the X-Clan, the group X-Clan, were children of black nationalists. And they were trying to organize the, oh man, Black Klan, and I'm trying to see what the organization they set up around X-Clan. Oh, wow. It'll come to me. But anyway, they set up a youth organization, a national youth organization, and we would go in the studios. They wanted to meet with them primarily for order, okay, because we're dealing with young men that was all of a sudden becoming very financial, you know, developed financially, and they weren't the kind of people that was used to money. Okay, so I was honored when they called me and they wanted me to go on tour with them and make sure that everything was cool. Baba is a name that they call, an African name that means father. Okay, and I was very honored because those are brothers, you know. And once real black men and real black women want you to go with their children, it should be an honor, you know what I mean? And you're talking about things where every place we went, we had people that would be capable of being attacked by the system. We went to Cleveland one time, and we got there kind of late. And they were whooping about, you know, well, if you play, the lights are going to go off at 12 o'clock anyway. The lights going to go off at 12 o'clock, and even some of the Negroes was approaching Sonny Carlson, which is really, he was really the chairman of the board, I call him, because he was the chairman of the Congress of Racial Equality in Brooklyn, and we became independent core. But anyway, the brother walked up to him and said, you know, told him, man, listen, why are y'all coming so late, blah, blah, blah. So he told him, you know, because people don't know who they're talking to sometimes. You can't talk to a black man like you talk to a nigger and a Negro. You can't do that. Okay, so he told him, you know, man, you know who you're talking to? And he looked in his eye and told him that. The brother kind of sheepish out, like, you know, cooled out, chilled out. Said, well, you know, it's late. And the police said that they're going to turn the lights out at 12 o'clock, and the police was out there and all. And when we got into the concert hall and the brothers did the thing, when the lights went out at 12 o'clock, they were so into the community was so into them and what they were rapping about that it just went on anyway. And we said, listen, we don't need nothing. We don't even need electricity when our spirits are together. You know?
So what's your view on
those are experiences, though. I had so many magnificent experiences like that.
Okay, what are your views? We're going to wrap it up pretty soon. What are your views on hip-hop culture today?
It's part of the people. Our children created hip-hop, just like breakdance. And if we don't try to understand that that's the movement, because we're not moving. Our children are moving. And they're moving, the ones that are moving through voice, through the art, whatever creativity they can do, they're trying to do it. Okay? And the hip-hop is beautiful because it's giving messages. All the hip-hop is not filthy. All the hip-hop, those people will pay us anything to call our women bitches and to use all those degrading names to our people. They'll give us millions of dollars to psych us into the thing that is cool to do that, so we'll start disrespecting each other. That's why we disrespect each other. But there are black people, and any black thing that goes on, there's something black in there that's going to be dynamic and right. You dig what I'm saying? We have to always decipher and define everything that we get into that comes to us from a Euro-English, from the English perspective, because if the brothers could do that rapping in Kiswahili or Mandingo or Wolof, it would be coming out a different kind of way, baby.
What does the name Simba Mlee mean? What does the meaning of the name?
Simba means lion or brave, and Mlee means one who's good with children, Kiswahili. Good with youth.
Right. Lastly,
and that's my commitment to the world now. I'm going to be an agitator. That's the bravery in me. And I'm going to always love and try to bring up the children. I don't care whose children they are, because in Africa they have a proverb that says, once the father of a child, the father of all the children. Once the mother of a child, the mother of all the children. They don't have juvenile delinquency in Africa.
Okay. Okay, what would you, in closing, what would you like to say to anyone?
I would love to say for everybody to get their children.
Okay.
And beat them. Not beat them, because you use English terminology for anything that seems bad, but discipline them. And if the police tell you you can't discipline your child, be ready to die, black man, because that's the only thing you got for your future. And if you don't discipline them, the policeman that came in and told you don't discipline them will discipline them for you. Okay, and they're telling black men don't beat their children, and they're building jails all over their house. And it's for their children. So black men have to start standing up. It doesn't matter. I say black men because black men have the law. Okay, black women are out of place because black men are out of place, out of order. So black women will be out of order, and black children will be out of order. It starts with the man. Peace and love.
Peace and love to you too. All right, brothers.